everyone, this is Yoan and welcome to a new episode. Today I would love to share the sling bag project. This is something that some of you requested since like forever. So finally, here is my take on the sling bag. This bag measures about 10 inches tall by 7 inches wide by 2 3/4 inches deep. It comes with a front exterior pocket, a zipper closure, and in the interior there is a zipper pocket and the elasticated pocket as well. The strap is adjustable with 2 D-rings so you can carry this bag in multiple ways. All in all, this is a fun and functional sling bag and I hope you would give this project a try. Alright guys, go get the template and the cutting instructions at YoanSewingStudio.com. I will put the link somewhere in the description box down below as well. Please enjoy this tutorial and let's get started. First thing first, you want to print out the template for the main body. There are 2 pages for this. You should be able to print this in regular home printer with US letter or A4 paper. You want to print as it is, do not scale, and don't forget to test the squares that are available on this template. To join this template, you want to fold the left-hand side line of page 2. So simply follow the line there. And then you want to overlap this to the page 1, matching the oval shape on the center here and all the lines of the template. Use some scotch tape to secure them in place and you should end up with something like this. Next, you can either trace template 1 and template 2 on the tracing paper, or you can use this paper and cut template 1 and then trace template 2 on the tracing paper. Use the template 1 to cut 2 exterior panels, 2 interior panels. You may cut using fabric scissors or rotary cutter, whichever one you are more comfortable with. Make sure to pay attention to the print direction if your fabric has directional print, just like mine here. Once you've done that, you want to transfer the 4 markings, the top and the bottom and the sides. Simply snip along the edges of the fabric about 1/4 inch, or you can mark it with fabric marker instead or do both. Do the same for the interior panels. And you want to also cut 1 piece of fusible woven interfacing and apply that to the front side of the exterior. With the template 2, you want to cut 2 mid-weight stabilizer. I use Pellon 808 or Craft Fuse here. You can also use Pellon 809 or Decorbond or Decoville Light. Fuse one of the stabilizer to the wrong side of the back exterior panel. Center the position, of course. And then you want to fuse the second stabilizer to the front interior panel. Next, we're going to work on the front pocket. So you want to cut 2 rectangles, fuse the wrong side of the exterior panel with some fusible woven interfacing. Of course, center the position. Lay the exterior and the interior panel right sides together. And then sew the top and the side edges with 3/8 inch seam allowance. Once you've done that, you want to clip the top corners, turn the fabric right side out, poke the corners, make them nice and flat, and then press this again, and then top stitch along the top edges. Measure 2 1/4 inch from the top edges, and then put a little mark there, and then install the male button snap on the mark according to the manufacturer's instructions. Next, you want to take a ruler and then measure 1 inch from the side edges and then draw a straight line using chalk marker or disappearing fabric marker. Repeat the same to the opposite side. Now measure 1.5 inch from the side edges or about 1/2 inch from the first marking and then draw a straight line there, and of course do the same to the opposite side. Fold the 1.5 inch line towards the 1 inch line. So the 1.5 inch line should be sitting on top of the 1 inch line, which will create a tiny pleat about 1/4 inch or so, just like that. And then clip at the bottom to hold the pleat for now. Now repeat the same to the opposite side. At this point, you want to go to your ironing board and press the pleats real good so they will all looking nice and crisp. Clip the top edges also to hold on to the pleats. And then you want to go to your sewing machine and then sew the bottom edges with 1/4 inch seam allowance. So the pocket panel is done and you want to keep those clips on top to train the fabric. Now take the front exterior panel, the one that was fused with the woven interfacing. Position the pocket panel on the right side, aligning the bottom edges. Simply match the center point of the bottom edges of the pocket panel with the bottom marking of the front exterior panel. Now you want to clip the bottom to hold the pocket in place. and then pop a pin or two on the upper top. And once everything is secured, you want to sew the sides and the bottom edges with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. As usual, I'm using my walking foot here, and when you sew, make sure to reinforce the stitching along the top edges. And that's it, the pocket panel is done. Now we're gonna work on the flap. So you wanna cut 2 rectangles, one for the exterior and one for the interior. Fuse the wrong side of the exterior with the stabilizer. Now lay these 2 panels right sides together. Secure them in place with some clips, and then you want to stitch all around, leaving about 3 inches of opening at the bottom, and you want to sew this with 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Clip all the corners, be careful not to cut through the stitches, and then turn this right side out. Poke all the corners, fold the raw edges of the opening hole towards the wrong side, about 3/8 of an inch, and then go to your ironing board and give this a good pressing. Once you've done that, you want to top stitch the sides and the bottom. From the top edges of the front exterior panel, you want to measure 2.5 inch and then put a little mark right on the center there. Find the center point of the top edges of the flap and then put a little mark there. Position the flap right on that 2.5 inch point mark, matching the center point. Use a pin to secure the flap, or you can also use basting tape, basting glue, or spray basting just to hold on to the flap temporarily. Before you go to your sewing machine, just take a good look one more time. Make sure that the flap is sitting symmetrically. Do some adjustments if you need to, and once you're happy with it, you want to go and sew the top edges of the flap with about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. From the bottom edge of your flap, you want to measure 5/8 of an inch, mark it right on the center, and this is going to be the spot where we're going to install the female button. Before you install the button, just do a little bit of assessment, just to make sure that the marking is sitting right on the male button. Do some adjustment if necessary, and then install the female button according to the manufacturer's instructions. And that's it, guys. The front exterior is done. Now we're gonna work on the back interior, starting by working the front interior pocket, which is the elasticated pocket. Fold the pocket panel in half widthwise, and then sew the top edges with 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Once you've done that, you wanna go to your ironing board and press the seams open, turn right side out, and then press it again. To make the elastic casing, you want to sew along the top edges with 1/2 inch seam allowance. Cut a piece of elastic about 8 inches long, attach a safety pin on one of the end of the elastic, feed the elastic into the casing using the safety pin as the guide. Pay attention to the other end of the elastic. Once it's approaching the casing, you want to hold on to it and put a clip to keep it in place. When the safety pin reaches the other end of the casing, you want to take it off, hold on to the end of the elastic, you don't want to lose it at this point, and then clip the end of the elastic so that both ends of the elastic will be secured. And then stitch both ends of the casing with about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance to secure the elastic in place. And you should end up with something like this. Now take the front interior panel, the one that is applied with stabilizer. Position the pocket panel on the right side of the front interior panel about 1 inch away from the bottom. Align the top side edges and then clip. So you should end up with something like this. At the bottom edges of the pocket panel, you want to measure 2 inches and then put a little mark there. And you want to repeat the same to the opposite side. Once you've done that, you want to align the rest of the side edges of the pocket with the side edges of the interior panel and then secure them with some clips. Now let's go back to the sewing machine and we're gonna stitch the bottom and take care of the bottom pleats. To make this much simpler, we're gonna pleat as we go. So let's start with the first pleat, pinch the pleat line, and then make a very small pleat, about 1/4 of an inch or so, the same way we did with the front exterior pocket before. You wanna pleat this towards the side. It doesn't have to be super precise. Hold on to the pleat and then sew with 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now you want to find the next line and then again pinch about 1/4 of an inch and then fold towards the side edges. At this point, make sure that you've got all the excess fabric in the pleat so that everything is nice and even at the bottom. Continue stitching, and about 1/4 of an inch before you get to the end, you want to pivot the fabric and then sew the side edges. Once you've done that, finish by sewing the opposite side. And that's it, the pocket is done. Now it's time to work on the zipper pocket. Prepare the pocket panel, draw the zipper template on the wrong side, just like shown on the screen right now. Make sure that the template is centered. Position the pocket panel on the right side of the back interior panel, about 2.5 inches down from the top edges, with the right side facing down. Center the position, of course. Pin them in place and then sew along the outline of the template. Once you've done that, as usual, you want to cut the center line and the corner triangles. Be careful as you get to the corner. Make sure not to cut through the stitches. Turn the pocket panel to the wrong side. Finger press to neaten everything, and then go to your ironing board and give this a good pressing. And then install the zipper to make the usual flush-in zipper pocket. I'm not going to show you the rest of the steps, but if you need the tutorial on that, I will link a separate video. I will link that below in the video description and also in the cutting instructions. Next, we're going to work on the upper top panel or the strap holder. For that, you want to cut 2 rectangles. Fuse one of them with some fusible woven interfacing and center position. To create the angled shape, you want to measure 1/2 inch from the side edges and put a little mark right on the top, just like shown on the screen right now. Now grab your ruler, align the upper top with the 1/2 inch point mark and the lower bottom with the corner edge, creating a slight angle there. And then take your rotary cutter and cut on that angle. Now we're gonna repeat the same to the opposite side, and you should end up with something like this. Work the exact same way for the second panel. Next, you want to fold the top edges towards the wrong side about 1/4 inch and then press. Once you've done that, top stitch the top edges with about 1/8 inch seam allowance to hold the folds in place. Now you want to lay the outer and the inner panel right sides together. Clip to secure them in place and then sew the side edges with 1/4 inch seam allowance. Once you've done that, you want to turn this right side out and then give this a good pressing. And then top stitch along the side edges. Now you want to take the back exterior panel and then take the strap holder. Position that on the top edges of the exterior panel with the wider side facing up. Make sure to center the position. Secure this with a clip. If the corner is kind of sticking out, don't worry about it. And then sew with 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now if you want, you can trim off these excess fabric that are sticking out so that everything will look nice and even. Next, we're going to work on the D-ring tab. So cut 2 pieces of webbing about 2 inches long. I'm using 1 inch wide webbing here. Attach the D-ring. Position the tab about 1 inch from the bottom edges and then secure with a clip, just like that. Repeat the same to the opposite side and then sew with 1/4 inch seam allowance to keep them in place. Take the back interior panel, the one with the zipper pocket. Now lay the back interior panel with the back exterior panel with the wrong side facing. Clip to secure them in place. Make sure to match all the markings and then sew all around with about 1/4 inch seam allowance. And you want to do the same for the front panels. And that's it. Now you can set this aside and we're going to work on the zipper. For this bag, you will need a 14 inches long zipper, which means the length of the zipper teeth is 14 inches. I'm using a metal zipper here and the width of the zipper tape is 1 inch. Hand stitch the zipper extension tape at the start of the zipper there. Next, we're going to attach the zipper tabs. So cut 2 little rectangles and then fold the long sides in half. Position that on the zipper extension tape, just like that. And then clip. Repeat the same to the opposite side. And then sew with about 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch from the folded line to hold this in place. Now let's trim off the excess fabric of the zipper tab so that it will be the same width as the zipper tape. And that's it, guys. So the total length of the zipper, including the zipper tabs, should now be 16 inches long. Next, we're going to work on the zipper panel. So you want to cut 2 panels for the exterior and 2 for the interior. Fuse the wrong side of the exterior panels with some fusible woven interfacing that you cut a slight shorter. Now you want to lay the exterior panel with the right side facing up. Apply some basting tape along the edges. Peel the top layer off. Take the zipper and lay that right side down Align the edges of the zipper tape with the edges of the fabric. Finger press so that the zipper tape will be sticking onto the basting tape. Apply some more basting tape along the edges and then take the interior panel and lay that right side down. Finger press to secure everything and then sew with 1/4 inch seam allowance. Now let's turn this to the right side and finger press the seams. Try to push the fabric out of the way from the zipper tape as much as you can, both the right side and the wrong side as well. And then go back to your sewing machine and top stitch. Now you want to attach the panels for the opposite side the exact same way. Now we want this panel to measure about 3.5 inches wide. So measure your panel. If there is any excess fabric, you want to simply trim that off. Try to do it evenly on both sides. Next, you want to prepare the bottom panels. So cut 2 pieces, one from the exterior and the other one from the interior. Fuse the wrong side of the exterior panel with some fusible woven interfacing. And just like the zipper panel, we cut the interfacing a slight shorter. Fuse the stabilizer on the wrong side of the interior panel and then center the position just like shown here. Now lay the bottom exterior panel right side up and then lay the zipper panel with the right side facing down, aligning the side edges of the start of the zipper with the side edges of the bottom panel. Now take the bottom interior panel and lay that right side down. So align all the edges that we're gonna sew here. Clip to secure this in place and then sew with 3/8 inch seam allowance. Once you've done that, you want to separate the zipper panel from the bottom panels. Finger press the seams, both the exterior and the interior. Make sure to push the bottom panel as further as you can. And once you've done that, you want to top stitch. Now with the zipper panel facing right side up, you want to bring the bottom exterior panel towards the opposite end of the zipper, just like that. Now flip this to the wrong side and then bring the end of the bottom interior towards the end of the zipper, again making a sandwich there. Align all the edges and then sew with 3/8 inch seam allowance. Separate the bottom panel from the zipper panel, so you should form a loop at this point. Again, finger press the seams and then top stitch. Next, you want to stitch all along the side edges to hold the exterior and the interior panels together. Use about 1/8 inch seam allowance, aligning the edges of the fabric together as you sew. And of course, when you're done, make sure to sew the opposite edges as well. Next, we're gonna find the center points of these panels. So first, you wanna match the seams between the zipper and the bottom. Clip to hold on to this for now. First, we're gonna find the center point of the zipper panel. So simply snip at the center fold here, about 1/8 inch or so, and snip the opposite side as well. Next, you want to smooth the bottom panel and find the center point and then snip on both edges. Now it's time to assemble the back. Take the front panel with the right side facing up. Take the zipper / the bottom panel and you want to turn this wrong side out. I always like the start of the zipper to be at my left hand side when I install it. You can do the opposite, it's totally up to you. Position the zipper panel with the right side facing down, matching the center point of the zipper panel with the center point of the front panel, and then pin to secure this in place, just like that. Now you want to lay the bottom panel also with the right side facing down, matching the center point, and then pin. Match the seams between the zipper panel and the bottom panel, this fold line here, with the side marking of the front panel, and then pin. Do the same to the opposite side. Now let's continue pinning the zipper panel. If you feel a little tension on your fabric around the curve, you want to snip the edges of the zipper panel a little bit, about 1/8 inch, to relax the fabric so it will go smoothly to the curve. I personally didn't snip the edges because everything is pretty manageable at this point. So here I've already pinned the zipper panel area. Now let's continue by pinning the lower area. Simply picked up where we left off. Now as you get closer to the corner here, you want to first snip the edges. Snip about 1/8 inch or so, don't go overboard. This will help relax the fabric and it will go smoother around the corner. Okay, once you've done snipping the edges, now we're gonna baste this. Instead of with the pin, we're gonna do hand basting. So take a thread and needle and simply run few stitches around the corner to hold them in place. It's totally fine if you can't go all the way to the corner. Just try your best to distribute the fabric evenly. When you're done, make sure to make a couple of knots so that the stitches will not come unravel. And there you go. Now let's continue pinning, and as we get to the opposite corner, we're gonna repeat the same hand basting method. Alright guys, now that everything is secured, we're gonna sew all around with 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Start by sewing the zipper area. I highly recommend to use your walking foot to evenly feed your fabrics and go through all the layers with breeze. The corner area should be pretty straightforward at this point since we based this with hand stitching. If it is difficult to get 3/8 of an inch seam allowance around this, you can reduce that to 1/4 of an inch. It shouldn't be a problem. Snip the seam allowances around the curve area, about 1/4 of an inch or so. Again, be careful not to cut through the stitches. And you should end up with something like this. You can see the gusset forming there. Now you wanna unzip the zipper all the way and then turn this back to the wrong side. Take the back panel with the right side facing up. We're gonna work on this the same way we did when attaching the front panel. Start by matching all the marking, the top center point, the lower center point, and the side markings. Once you've done that, you want to pin all around and hand stitch the corners to keep them in place. Where the D-ring tabs are sitting, instead of using pin, I use the clips due to the bulkiness. And once everything is secured, you want to sew all around with 3/8 of an inch seam allowance. Again, you want to snip around the curve and the corner area. If you want, you can turn the back right side out so that you can see how it looks. And once you're happy with it, turn this back to the wrong side and finish the raw edges by binding it. I simply use pre-made bias tape that I happen to have in my stash. You just want to bind all around the seam allowances. You can use any binding method that you prefer. I usually would finish my binding with hand stitching, but this time I finished my binding with sewing machine, since it will sit in the interior of the bag, so you don't have to make it super perfect. Now turn the bag right side out, neaten the seams and the corners. If it's necessary, go to your ironing board and press this. Just be mindful with the hardwares and the zipper. We're gonna finish this bag by installing the strap. So you wanna cut your webbing about 50 inches long, and you will need a swivel hook and an adjustable strap slider. Hold the slider right side up and then feed the end of the strap from the wrong side towards the right side and then back to the wrong side. Have about 1.5 inch of clearance there. Fold the end of the strap towards the wrong side, about 1/2 inch or so, and then sew with about 1/4 of an inch seam allowance to hold this in place. Once you've done that, you want to set this aside, still keeping the right side facing up. Feed the other end of the strap into the swivel hook and slide it off about halfway. Now take the slider and then feed the strap from the wrong side towards the right side and then back to the wrong side, just like that, and then pull that through. At this point, you want to make sure that your strap isn't twisted. Now take the back and then insert the end of the strap into the strap holder. Go about 1.5 inch into the casing. Now you want to measure 3/4 of an inch from the edges of the strap holder. And with your disappearing fabric marker, you want to draw a straight line there. Use a clip to hold on to the strap for now, and then sew right on this straight line and then make a round following the top stitching line. Still using my walking foot here. If you want, you can install the strap before you assemble the bag. That can be another option. To ensure extra bond, you may want to stitch around about a couple of times so that your strap will be nice and secured. And there you go, guys. Now you can attach the swivel hook to either side of the D-ring, and voila, your sling bag is done. And that's about it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I shall see you next time. Goodbye.